Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Artist Spotlight. Today, I'm Anna Ferraz and I'm joined with Will again. Hi, Will.
Hello, hello.
And we are interviewing Firouz once again. Firouz, how are you? How are you doing?
Well, I'm very happy. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the program again and following the evolution of boutique and how Form is pushing forward on its campaign.
Yes. Right before we joined this call here, we had a little chat and you were in a beautiful setting. Tell us, where are you in the world at the moment?
Well, I'm in a production center of my co-producer Aisha Abu Ziyad in Essaouira, and we're on the Atlantic board of North Africa, in a very powerful setting where the vibrations flow incredibly strong. It's one of the it is the capital of a brotherhood, musician brotherhood called the Gnawas, that are the ancestors of the descendants of the blues and of jazz. They are namely, a remnant of the slavery routes that came through Central Africa, through here, and into the Americas. So the Brotherhood kind of is and renowned for having safeguarded, the original potential sound of what has become later rock and roll, the blues, jazz, and everything we know as blues related music. And it has always been for me a to go since the 90s. One of my biggest first projects, very early on, I was very young. We had done a documentary about the first Gnawa Festival in '99. And, I've been here ever since. So I have a house here. A lot of my partners have their secondary homes here also. And we are preparing the shoot of my first feature film, following my feature documentary that was just awarded Best Documentary at the Rome Festival, by the way,
Ooh,
last month. And thank you. And so we're actually in active pre-production. The film is going to be shooting in November, December, and it relates to the psychedelic era of the 1960s, and we're going to be shooting it here.
amazing. What was this
Yeah.
documentary?
Sorry.
What was this documentary about?
Oh, so the documentary, I think we mentioned it on the last interview, but
Mhm.
happy to highlight again. The last documentary was an offshoot of my ambassadorship for a Central Asian cultural ambassadorship for a Central Asian republic called Kyrgyzstan. And that government had wanted to fund its first pavilion for the Venice Biennale on the 59th Venice Biennale a couple of years ago. And the adventure to fund such a pavilion within the idea of cross cultural experimentation and production led us to do a staple in Venice that was very much a breakthrough, trying to reconsider thematics of cultural exchange, and it kind of put me on the map as a nomadic creator. And I was very happy to kind of redefine what the debates around cultural appropriation could actually go towards, and talk about the fluidification of cultural exchange toward what I call more of a planetary culture that I think is, for me, the way forward, especially in the times we're living today, within the problems we're having on global warming, and the fact that I think that that conversation, this multicultural conversation, is needed to have a broader vision on how to solution today's problems. If we segment ourselves, we're just going to hit the wall. So what I think is, as a nomadic creator, I love the fact that Path, that documentary, defends that call. It's kind of a call to dreamers, to artists, to activators, to try to kind of believe that there is a broader conversation that we can have on the planet, instead of retreating in our corners, in our dark corners.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I also saw about your documentary. You guys also won Best Original Soundtrack at the Rotterdam Independent Film Festival. So it's like you've been recognized both for the documentary itself as well as the soundtrack behind it. Could you just talk about like the two sides of that?
Well, it is very interesting to take the conversation right there because the project that was developed around that film was how our musical ensemble form was actually solidified and created and brought on what we're doing now with Boutique. I basically when I started doing the post production of the film, it took us a year and a half to post produce just the film because we created the whole soundtrack, what I call the sound sphere of form from scratch. And I created this ensemble that understood the guys I'm playing with today, plus other collaborators that are, from more working on the how to say on the cross cultural field of world music and sometimes lyric from the opera. Lyrical background. Vanessa Harvey, for instance, was a collaborator there, and she has a lyrical background. Axel Narayana is a tantric flute player with an education in Tibet. So we mixed that into a rock and roll, kind of approach, psychedelic rock approach, and suddenly we found a sound through creating the cinematic approach to Path. We started being able, as we were writing the music of the film, to create other productions that basically became, that's why I called it actually the album Boutique. It's been like a collection of songs that were offshoots of what we're doing for Path. And the Path of Boutique kind of created itself under the wings of the production of the documentary. So it actually also puts forward the way I work. I mean, for me, music, I like to say, is kind of the future of image, in the sense that I remember Tarantino in a very nice interview had said the way he writes his films is that he just goes into his into his discotheque and chooses albums and sounds on which he writes his scripts. And I have the opportunity to think same wise, but to be able to actually write the music to it myself. So that's the way we've actually merged from Past into Boutique, and Boutique's merging into the sound of Suzie of the Witch. And the whole ensemble was present 2 months ago in June in the south of France, where we were booked for an event in a beautiful winery. And at that occasion, we just booked 2 weeks in a recording studio and recorded like 10 hours of sound that is actually right now mixed into the foundations of the music of the next film. So if you see, Path basically brought on Boutique. Boutique brought on Season of the Witch, and potentially Season of the Witch is also potentially going to bring the next project up into 2027, 2028. That might be another independent album from the cinematic work we're doing. So I'm just always trying to convey that the way form actually works is moving very with a lot of fluidity between our works in a cinematic way to works that may be more oriented toward the music industry, but we don't really make a difference. We don't think as an album as a release and a work per se. We think that creativity it has to have its fluid evolution forward and be cross media and cross cultural, and which is basically the way We Are the Nomads and Form and my whole creative enterprise function. And that links ultimately to what I said earlier, to this kind of like Taoist kind of Zen approach where for me everything is interconnected.
Yeah, amazing. When we're talking about approaches, I do find it interesting. You could form, and I do think that as form, you guys do form into different shapes and meanings to create different things. You did mention that you almost went into like a lockdown for your upcoming feature. What was that process like? What is that process like for you guys, especially being in such a hyper focused mentality? What was that like?
Well, it's funny enough. I mean, we're pushing a single right now called Palazzo, right? And that track was written in September while we actually had the whole formation coming to Venice during the Venice Biennale, September last year, about a year ago, where we did the soundscape of my textile installation in a beautiful Venetian palazzo called the Dandolo. And jamming through the opening, because it was a 2-hour set. It was full of people. It was crazy, and we were all placed in different places in the Palazzo, and we just heard each other just through, the monitors. And basically, we created the base of that riff for Palazzo that came out in that Palazzo that day. And we created that song slowly, slowly, each of us in a different spot in the world. And we built it centralized in Bloom Studios in Saint-Tropez, where the song basically came to conclusion like in January, February last year. And we thought, hey, this is a great song. And we decided to use the rushes we had done in Venice and mix them to an event we would do. At first, maybe we were thinking about London. It didn't happen in SXSW because we were looking forward to potentially have Path screen there, but it didn't happen. So we pivoted and we did it in that winery in the south of France, which was actually, a perfect setting. And we had our cinema DOPs present and with a drone and with a couple of cameras, and we shot, the whole concert that we released. By the way, that's called "Dedication to the Sun" because we did it for Sunset. But centrally, we played Palazzo, and we video clipped actually the track with a mixture of the rushes from Venice and what we did in June. So again, it shows how we work. I invited the whole band to be present, to be there to promote Palazzo, but then we locked ourselves up for 2 weeks at the same time, working on the sound. I call it the sound sphere of
Yeah.
Season of the Witch, because we work not writing tracks per se for the song. We actually work immersed in we put ourselves in a 5.1 or a 7.2 Odyssey like cinema in our heads, and we're thinking, well, how are we gonna create something nobody's heard before, sonically. I'm not saying musically. Hopefully, we'll do something that has a sound that's novel to itself, but that's not what we're into. It's more like we're thinking, how are we going to create a world, a universe, a sonic universe that's going to be the bath in which the film is gonna flow. And that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. We worked at Bloom Studios along with Bill Cox, that has a beautiful studio called Cox and All, just next to Saint Raphael, and he's got one of the prime analog set studios in France, kind of like Daft Punk grade, and on Revox and tapes. So we were able to move between digital and analog between the two studios, kind of like experimenting with modular synthesizers and such. And I think we came up with something great. Now, obviously, where we're at now, where we created a very good base, but I'm a big fan of Sofia Coppola. What she did for Marie Antoinette or for Virgin Suicides always resonates in the sound that you can have a film set in a time, but you can bring electronic music to it too, and bring like a timeless kind of thing. So now we're at this stage where we have activated 2-3 electronic music producers to work on the track. We're also we're in early discussions with musicians such as Cat Power in New York City to come and collaborate with us on some of the tracks. And we've also been in contact with musicians such as in New York, also as Regina Spektor, that I don't know if you remember when she worked with Reptilia, the album Room on Fire with the Strokes. So yeah, we're looking for very independent-minded, creative collaborations right now, and we're broadening as we did on Path. The work we did on the Soundsphere to to a collaboration that would encompass participations and one of the musicians that worked with us, Daniel Jameson, he played Rhodes, and he's like a hardcore fan of Radiohead, Kid A times, and obviously, he said, yeah, let's bring it, let's give it. So we did a whole Rhodes approach, listening very closely to Kid A. So we've also, tried to modernize our sound lately and bring it to maybe more experimental place where we're all Pink Floyd fans, especially the Dark Side of the Moon era. So that's what we're doing. We're kind of still work, and the soundscape is going to be still into work during the shooting. We're going to integrate Gnawa musicians, as I said earlier, into it. We're going to invite more folk related music and traditional music into, such as Persian sitar, tantric flute also into the film. So it's going to be something, I guess, that, is going to lead us to something potentially groundbreaking, hopefully, as it was for Path. And I think, it was one of my biggest prides that Path got recognized for his original soundtrack, because I think that the film is built around that soundtrack. And I was very happy to have Best Documentary. But to tell you the truth, my heart was very much warmed by being awarded the music, because music is always for us the foundation of what we do with image.
Yeah, and you kind of talked a lot about your environment, where people have came from, their culture. So, like, I mean, you're joining us, as you mentioned, the vibrations of the start of jazz and the blues. I mean, when you guys come together, how much does the environment matter to like that music making process for you guys for form?
Well, what's very very important is to come with a minimum of preconceived ideas. And I when the band or I rather say the formation reunites, I come with like if you want to compare it to painting, I come with like a drawing board and I have sketches, and I have like 20, 30 sketches, and we actually take it. We actually take it that way. We don't come with like pre-prepared ideas. Obviously, there is one staple around the film, which is called "Season of the Witch," is the cover of the Donovan song. So obviously, most of the film's atmosphere, and that, I'm breaking that to you. I guess you're the first media to hear it, but we're breaking, down the Season of the Witch song from Donovan, very much inspired from what Julie Driscoll and Brian Auger had done on the cover of it. Next, and there was also another cover that was absolutely brilliant, by Bloomfield, Cooper and Stills in 1969. That was like completely brought onto wah-wah guitar. That it's you should anybody listening to the program should go and buy themselves the Super Sessions immediately. I would advise on vinyl. And and that's one of my favorite versions. So we took the cue on those versions, and we added our own deconstructive approach to the track, and we did, I don't know, 5 to 8 different covers of that song, deconstructing it like in different directions. And so that was one of the big projects in the making of those recordings. Now, obviously, we worked also on other tracks, which we played on the 4th of January in the winery in Domaine La Croix. One nominally called "The Dedication to the Sun," which is a completely tripped out jazz influenced, minimal, trippy take on a poetic sunset offering, musical offering, and that's going to be very possibly the structure for what is going to be the introduction of the film.
Amazing. Well, we want to know, because we obviously had to talk about Palazzo as well. So, is there anything that you can tell us, giving us a little hint or taste of what it's going to be like? We've talked about, Junkie Ways in general, but, the boutique releases. Can we expect something similar to Palazzo?
Well, I really appreciated the way the independent UK press has been supportive. I mean, Plastic Magazine did a beautiful publication not long ago on how they see boutique as a bit of a mystery, and kind of like trying to explore what Palazzo holds for what's to come. Now, I think that Palazzo, as I said, is part of collection of creations that we did while working on cinematic adventures. So I think the album "You Must Be Secured" is going to be very cinematic, and it's a concept album that's going to be cut into 4 different sides, mirroring the I would say the length of a Revox tape, And so we are obviously thinking of releasing it on limited edition Revox to start with, kind of like echoing what Bengal Terjas did with his last album, where he did the soundscape of an opera in Paris, from the Daft Punk. We really have a lot of respect, from the French Touch movement on the way they treat, the whole analog avenue. So we're thinking about doing the same thing, and the album's going to be a bit structured around the length, the tape length that you have on Revox. That's what I can tell you now. Obviously, it will have a digital, expression of itself later. And we're also thinking about, and that's also breaking today, about creating an art film, not at all narrative, a conceptual art film that will accompany the whole boutique album. So we're working on it now. Very possibly, we actually want it to be a trip. So is just maybe how to say one of the moving parts of this larger psychedelic approach.
Yeah, I feel like you've talked about so many moving parts within boutique. I remember last time you mentioned paintings. There's going to be a longer version of Junkie Ways. That was just a taster of what we've got right now, and I feel like it's
Absolutely.
just all going to be revealed when it comes to Freeze Art Week that you've mentioned last time. And I feel like we're all just kind of waiting till Freeze Art Week to be able to have the grand reveal of like this psychedelic trip that you're currently taking us on. But is there anything else you could hint at for us before we get there?
Oh, yes. Well, obviously, above and under and around the album, there's been, how to say, a collection of poems that I'm writing called Wildfires since 2022. And that have mostly influenced the lyrics of Boutique. And inside Boutique, you will have, how to say, transitional moments, overtures, and interludes that are going to be populated by a lot of poetry. So I'm thinking about, yes, to potentially release for free through Bandcamp, as if for those that acquire Boutique, an audio poem book that's also going to be written in collaboration with FORRM, where it's more of a recitation of those poems that influenced Boutique. So I'm thinking about doing that, and so that's one thing, obviously. And as these old eggs as Kinder Surprise. Well, yeah, obviously, when you're going to lead into Junkie Ways, the 8-minute version, you will find out that at the end of some songs, you're going to have goodies hanging out. So yeah, we're hiding a lot of crazy stuff inside the album, unexpected turnarounds and hidden tracks and stuff. So we're having fun doing that. Now, regarding the release in October, I still have the idea to release that for Freeze Week, but you guys will have to wait till September till we get the exact release date and what the marketing plan is going to really look like once I round up with the team after the holidays.
Amazing. Well, everyone, you heard it here. There's a lot we have to look forward to, and for you, you've got a lot going on for you here. Good luck with everything. I think this is
Well,
a
we
great.
hope we
Oh,
hope that this message goes through to all the UK playlist and radios. Just put Palazzo on rotation. You won't regret it.
exactly what he said. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You guys, I really
Thank
appreciate the continuity of your conversation with us, and hope to maybe discuss with you guys before the release of the album again.
Absolutely.
oh,
We'll have you back. And yeah,
Okay,
thank you so much, everyone.
thank
Goodbye.
you
rock and
so
roll.
much.
All the best.
Rock
Thank
and
you.
roll.
Have